Special guest in studio here this Monday. It's Kelly Roberts. Kelly is the executive director for the Chautauqua County Humane Society. And Kelly, first off, good morning and welcome to the studio again.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you.
Well, there's various reasons we'll ever have an appearance from members of the Chautauqua County Humane Society throughout the year, and a lot of times it's good, positive. But today we invited you in because, of course, one of the hot topics over the last week, not even, has been that unfortunate animal abuse story that's come out of Jamestown, having to do with the dogs at the Mount Vernon place last week. And we invited you because I think there's a lot of misconceptions that we want to address when it comes to what is the Humane Society's role when it comes to responding to allegations, or in this case, pretty black and white evidence. But I'm not a judge or jury, but we want to give you some airtime here and clear some of that up for us.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, obviously it's an unfortunate circumstance. We were lucky in the respect that, it sounds kind of crazy to say, but lucky that there was a fire there, because otherwise we don't know long-term what that might have led to for these two dogs. They were taken to a veterinarian for care, as I understand it, and they will be taken to an area kennel to be housed leading up to the potential court case. I did want to mention that not all animals locally who are victims of neglect or cruelty come to the Humane Society. In some cases, for example, the city of Jamestown has a contract with the Pick of the Litter shelter, so I believe that sometimes animals that are victims in the city go there. Mm-hmm. We do take in animals from small animals to large animals. It can be any sort of animals that we help at the Humane Society. We are working on some initiatives that I wanted to mention. I've been the ED at C.C.H.S. for almost a year now, and one of the things that's been really the most important for me is getting our community more involved and making this part of the state a better place for animals. As most everybody probably knows, the animal cruelty laws in New York State perhaps are not what we wish they would be. And we're working on some initiatives internally at this point to work with area law enforcement. We have informally had some conversations with officers, different things along those lines, looking toward what we can do to work more closely with the officers and the municipalities to be able to bring more of these cases to justice. One thing I did want to clear up a little bit, in the article that was in the paper, speaking with our Director of Animal Services, Sue Bobeck, last week, she did mention that we see about 10 cases at C.C.H.S. annually of either cruelty or neglect. And the rest of what she was talking about that was not in the article was that's what we see right now. It doesn't mean that that is all that we think is out there, mm-hmm. and that's part of the reason that we're having these initiatives on, making this a stronger place for animals. One of the things that we have just started doing recently is attending court proceedings when someone is brought before a judge on charges, so that we are starting to represent on behalf of the animals and let the folks out there know that this is important to us in this county. And if anyone is interested in getting involved in that with us, I'd be glad to hear from you. My email address is kroberts@spcapets.com. And, the greater numbers that we have of folks in our community who are involved, the more power we're going to have on behalf of the animals.
When it comes to, it's almost like any other type of abuse, whether it be child abuse. If you see something, say something. I mean, that's just as much the case when it comes to animals. And I know that, the history of the Chautauqua County Humane Society, and even personally, I know people who have picked up the phone to make a call. But I think it's important, too, to understand that people need to be patient sometimes, because it is a long and complicated process sometimes, and it can be frustrating. Can you talk about that at all when somebody actually does make a call to you guys and say, hey, I have a concern?
Yeah. There's really two different ways to look at this, I think. We have, on the one hand, folks who may have a pet that maybe they're going through some financial difficulties, or they've never had an animal before and they don't really know how to take care of them. We try to be a resource for people to help them keep their pets happy and healthy in their homes. As a shelter, we don't want to take in animals who are in good homes. We want to support people to be able to keep their animals. On the other side of it, as Andrew said, yes, if you do see a situation, the first step would be to report it to your local authorities. At the Humane Society, our role currently is in support of the authorities. It is up to them to go on the property, talk with the folks, check out what the situation is. And if they deem that it is a situation where law enforcement needs to be involved, that's where we step in at the Humane Society. We can help with transport of animals to the shelter, medical care, taking pictures for court, and obviously taking care of the animals and nursing them back to health. So our role is a little bit behind the scenes. We're second to law enforcement when it comes to this. But yes, you absolutely need to step up. That's a large part of the community's role, because otherwise these things can just continue and nobody knows that it's happening.
Well, we appreciate you stepping in, Kelly. Is there anything else you wanted to add? We could go on forever, I'm sure, because there's a lot of stuff we could cover.
There definitely is. I would just, like to let folks know that sometimes we will hear that the Humane Society or whatever animal organization it is not doing what they need to do. And the fact is, we need to be electing folks into office who are representative for animals, who will want to see the laws changed. So it takes everybody, and it is super important that we know what the folks that we're voting into office, what they stand for and believe in, where animals come from, because we do need to make the laws stronger on the animals' behalf.
So would you encourage people, politics aside, but to write to their representatives and just, let them know, even if they're not addressing a specific instance, just to generally say, please represent these animals in our local lands?
Yes, absolutely. They need to know what we want from them. And this is obviously important to a lot of people, and it does take all of us to make those changes.
All right. Well, Kelly, again, thank you very much for stepping in and addressing this. And coming up on a year at the Humane Society, that's a whole other conversation, but congratulations on all the strides that's been made. And thank you for, being you and representing all the animals that are out there. They don't have a voice. We need somebody to speak for them.